Awesome. So good morning, everybody. My name is Monica Rojas. I am with Tech Hub South Florida. I really focus on community building and supporting our local startups. So we're super excited to have General Assembly here today, one of our partners. And we actually have Vaughn joining us from Brooklyn, New York. So that's the beauty of being hybrid. So if anybody does have any questions about Tech Hub South Florida, we are a regional nonprofit in South Florida building the Tech Hub down here. So we do that through educational workshops like this, panel discussions with local leaders, our podcast series, and different introductions to different people in our community. We really try to focus on 4 pillars right now, and it's talent development, it's also community, branding, and lastly, we added startups this year. So we have different events that focus on all of our initiatives. We have different groups within Tech Hub for our members that kind of just focuses on connecting peer-to-peer engagement and everything like that. So right now, Tech Hub, we have about 200 members, right? So these are companies like General Assembly, City Furniture, Florida Power and Light. And then we have startups that are still bootstrapping. So we have literally, we're a connective tissue for the ecosystem. So lastly, I would like to just drop our Career Expo link in the chat. So if you guys are looking for a job, please join us next week. I'd be happy to give you guys a VIP tour next week. And then we're going to have our Tech Up birthday party to follow. So now I'm going to pass the mic over to Vaughn. So thank you so much, Vaughn. And I look forward to learning a little bit more about you and SQL, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Am I invited to these parties?
Yeah, you could join virtually to our Career Expo, but our birthday party is in person. So if you want to fly down, you have 7 days to book a flight.
Sounds like an invite to me. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Vaughn Caldon. I am in Brooklyn, New York. I'm an instructor for General Assembly. I have been an instructor for about 2 years, and I teach everything in the data vertical from beginners Excel to beginners Python, right? So Excel, SQL, Tableau, Python, and that puts me right on the edge of data science, but we're all thinking about all these new opportunities to be analysts, and we see SQL, or as we like to say, SQL everywhere, and you must know SQL, or you have to learn SQL, or this is SQL based. So I'm here to teach you guys a little bit about SQL. So again, Vaughn Caldon, I'm an entrepreneur, father of 2, living in Brooklyn, New York, loving the tech ecosystem here in New York City, interested what's going on in Florida, but hey, we'll get to that later. Let's get into some SQL and why you need to learn it. Please feel free throughout the classroom, jump off mute, ask questions. If you know how to give those like virtual thumbs up, those really give me life. So if you can keep the conversation going that way, I'm happy to oblige. Thank you so much. I know I've got someone on my team. All right, so intro to SQL. Again, I mentioned it is SQL. I've said who I am. We're going to talk about what is a database, right? What are we talking about? Are we talking about a list that I have, you know, the old black book, right? That used to be a database. Am I dating myself when people had phone numbers? Learn and practice the basic syntax of SQL. While we are not going to be in an actual SQL database today, we are going to learn the actual commands that would work in a SQL database. We're going to be set up in something called Code Lab, which is a virtual SQL database, but we will be running real SQL queries. And we'll speak about all this language a little bit more later, but also we'll get a chance for me to demonstrate some more advanced SQL features like joining, grouping, filtering, and functions. Cool beans? Sounds good. Fundamentals of databases and SQL. What is a database, right? If you have a list of names, everyone in here, right? Someone's going to say, who came to this class? If that's on an Excel spreadsheet, and this is the first class, that's our database. It might grow to be 1 million people have taken this class, but that is a database, right? That's a collection of data. That's a table. But when we're talking about data as it's currently formed, we're talking about Uber, who has billions of rides, Seamless that has billions of orders, Facebook that has billions of users. Excel spreadsheets have million rows. So we're going to talk about handling big data. Even if we understand the data, we have to understand that it cannot live where we normally find data. That's what SQL databases come from, and that is SQL, structured query language. How do you get the data from that from that SQL database to a format that you can use and analyze? You have to learn this structured query language, which we will be learning. This is what a database looks like. Lots of tables interconnected, structured format. This is an ERD, an entity relationship diagram of what your data might look like in a SQL database. You need an ERD in order for you to navigate this. This is in Excel. You open this spreadsheet and can see the columns and rows. You have to know that the data is there, where to find it, and how to find it, right? So again, without access to a SQL database, understand that the process is going to be much longer than what we're doing today, right? I'm going to give you a link and you're going to start writing queries. But normally there's a lot more orientation to do when you have to query a SQL database. Pronounced SQL, IBM, early 70s, it's our language to interact with, modify, and retrieve data from these databases, right? We understand that I can get every transaction from my register, but to get every transaction from every register around the world for these global companies, we need SQL databases. And when we're talking about, yeah, no, it's not. You said it like a beginner, and we leave here saying, we go from saying SQL to SQL. It's all good. Identify products and objects, right? We talk about the data analytics workflow. We have problems. There's something that needs to be solved. We have to identify that problem and structure it in a way that it can be solved by data. Then we have to obtain that data, understand that data, prepare that data, analyze the data, present the data, right? Think about this in terms of the recent pandemic. We had a problem. Then there was a hypothesis that said, if we do this, the data will show this. How did we have that data? Well, we started running tests and we started collecting data from hospitals. We obtained that data. Then someone had to put it together, right? Every hospital is not using the same operating system. Then they had to understand it, prepare it, clean it up, make it make sense, and then analyze it to say that here's the curve. And if we do this, the curve will look like this, right? There's an entire flow. SQL is particularly useful in the obtaining the data place, right? So again, all these different hospitals can all be in different SQL databases, but you can't get to any of it without speaking the language. Structured query language, SQL. I'm excited to question, Linda, or is that just a sneeze? And bless you.
Yep, thank you.
No problem. All right. Before accessing a database, you should already have an idea of what problem you need to solve, right? We're looking at little tiny databases. Even if you took the SQL bootcamp, which I hope you will take, you would still be in a very small database. When you're talking about these large companies, they have maybe hundreds, but definitely dozens of tables, right? So you're not just going to go in there not knowing where the data you're looking for is. It could be one of 30 tables in one of a million columns in a billion rows. So you got to have some thought to behind this, right? What data am I looking for? What data is available to me? And the various ways to understand that, right? We will learn how to query them, right? That's it. We're going to learn queries. That is the most basic level of understanding of SQL, and you're going to get it now. Just a reminder, Excel's only got 1 million rows. Our computer couldn't handle 1 billion rows of sum ifs. Hello? Sorry about that. Our computer couldn't handle 1 billion rows of sum if or the things that we need to do. So we actually need this stuff to take place in a server, and we need a browser to access that server. And in that browser, we type our queries in, and then we can even see slices of these billions of rows of data. It's rapid, right? Again, you don't understand the processing power to aggregate millions of rows. SQL can. More adept at cleaning and preparing data at high volume, SQL is an industry standard. You learn this language, you add this to your resume, things will change for you, I promise. However, it is not a visualization tool. I can't look this data up and then graph it all in SQL. You still have to have Excel skills. You still have to have Tableau skills. This is rarely the only tool of a data analyst. You'll come across many variants of SQL out in the wild. Oracle, MySQL, SQLite. We are using PostgreSQL. It is common, it is free, so a lot of people are going to use it. You'll also run into many clients. pgadmin, which we'll be using, DataGrip, Heidi SQL, right? These are your browsers. This is how we access the data. So this is how we communicate. This is how we code it in, right? It's built in. The data lives in these dialects, and not in these. What would I say? In these iterations of it, and we query it in these browsers, right? So again, are you using Chrome? Are you using Safari? It's all, we know how to figure this out once we learn the language of it, the select from where. But before we go any further, this is what we're using, right? None of those things. Any questions? We're about to start writing queries. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to give you the link. Code Lab. It's Tutorial Republic's online SQL editor. It's the only way we could fit it into an hour is to kind of do pretend code, right? Code pop is what we used to call it. It's never this easy to actually get into a SQL database. Here it is. You need that. If I give you this link, oops. I'm going to copy and paste this link in the chat, and you're going to go here. Give me a thumbs up when you have arrived. Call me if you get lost. I'm pretty good with these cultural references if you're with it. All right. How we feeling? Nice. Nice. The thumbs are alive. We have real people on the other side of these lovely pictures and sometimes all caps names. All right. We're pretending to code now. Let me show you something. This right here, and again, they are going to be nice enough to not only send you a recording of this, but also my slides. So this right here will become your resource for the rest of your life when you're thinking about, I need to know some SQL, I need to query a SQL database. And these are the core commands of SQL. Select from, where, group by, having, order by, and limit. Once you learn how to use them, you learn how to add on to them, and you can query these databases. Select allows us to choose the fields, choose the columns we want to see, right? Some of these tables have 30,000 columns. If only 2 of those columns mean something to me, then I only want to see those 2 columns. From, I mentioned that some of these databases have hundreds of tables, maybe dozens of tables. Well, from lets SQL know which table you want to see things from. Where are the conditions on which you can filter the rows? Using the Boolean conditions, greater than, less than, equal to, less than or equal to, you can say, I only want to see things where this is the case, or this is less than that. Go to Macy's database and say, I want to see the SKU numbers from the sales table where brand equals polo. Right? Does that make sense? Thumbs up keeps me alive. Group by aggregates across values of a variable, right? Now I don't just want to see all the sales that were polo. I want to see the sum of all the sales that are polo. That's where it gets interesting. And what we're talking about there is that you cannot see something grouped by something that doesn't live in the table without explaining it to SQL. It'll be easier to see later, but group by has to do with aggregates across an actual variable. Having filters by those aggregates. Order by does exactly what you think it says, puts things in order. Put the polo shirts in order of cost. Limit, I only want to see the top 10 most expensive polo shirts. Select from where, group by, having, order by, limit. And that is the order they will always appear in. And the order matters. So you already know a bunch of SQL if you remember this order. In my SQL bootcamp, we have a mnemonic device that we have. So far, we got Henny or Lambrusco. So far, we got Henny or Lambrusco, and that's how you've got to write a SQL query. So let's write our first one. I'm not going to get, I will go back and forth between these. Where did I launch it? Hold on a second. Let me go back and just use this one instead of doing something weird. How are we doing? You guys going to talk to me at all? Is it just me? There it is. All right, bring that over to here. So we're right next to each other. And here we have it. We are in our query window, right? It's not going to look very different from this in an actual environment, but you will have to see to the right, what are these? These are all the different tables we have. What's this? This is our query window where we write our queries. And what happens here? That's where the data is going to come back about the queries that we wrote. So let's execute the query in the window. I hit the button, execute query. There's a button for that. It's not like that, but it's a button. And we would have written select all from employees. The things that stand out to you, select. That says, Vaughn says, that's how we see all the columns. So these are all the columns in our employees table. From chose the table we're seeing. The only thing that we don't understand is that semicolon. In this code, in this language, that is how you end a query. So in good code, you will see a semicolon at the end of a query. How do we feel about that? How do we feel about that? Right, so here we are. Select retrieves all fields because we chose asterisks from the table orders. Right? We needed to have an ERD to understand that. Remember, I mentioned that. And here's an ERD for your actual table. These are the different tables. These are the columns that are in the table that you seek, right? So you wouldn't have to see this in order to know it, right? And then these keys that you're seeing are letting you know how these tables are connected. Does that make sense? Right? Because I want to know the name related to the department, but those aren't in the same table. So sometimes in order to get that, tables have to be connected. How can you connect a table? With joins, but first you have to have an ERD to know what these keys are. These keys are like lookup values in a VLOOKUP, right? A commonality. Tables are connected on commonalities, right? A little bit of language around this stuff, but that's why it's important. All right. Click on each table to explore the data and notice that CodeLab generates a SQL query each time. Examining the column headers, figure out the relationship between orders, order details, products, and customers table. Document these tables as an entity relationship diagram. Yeah, that's what you're going to come up with. But in general, I want you to explain that exercise a little bit better. What we want to do is, where are we? Nope. Go ahead and run, if you just click on the table, right? If I click on the employees table, it runs the query and I see everything in the employees table. departments table, customers table, orders table. I want you to see what the common values between tables might be, right? How would I be able to connect the employees table and departments table? Do they have anything in common? What about the customers table and departments table? Or more specifically, the orders, order details, products, and customers table. Go ahead and drop some commonalities in the chat, giving you guys 4 minutes, a couple of minutes, right? We'll just see how you're feeling. But again, click around, but pay attention to the queries, right? Because soon we'll be writing those ourselves. This is the question. These are the tables you want to find commonalities for. And I'm giving you 3 minutes. Good luck. Speak up if you need me. Thank you, Linda. Right? Minimum, we're all going to refer to it as SQL from now on. And that's just going to, like, that's a step up already. I just. But we understand what it's for, right? You know, good cocktail conversation is, you know, Excel only has 1 million rows. That's why I'm learning SQL. And you can say that. And you can now say, I'm learning SQL, right? Because you've done this, right? This is good conversation stuff. Really important analyst stuff, but good conversation stuff. All right, not a lot of feedback in the chat, but I appreciate the compliments. And we're going to go on to the next slide that says, if you were mapping the data structure, I know that wasn't 3 minutes. I feel pressed with an hour. We would see that it looks like this. The customers table is connected to the orders table by order ID. I mean, customer ID. So if I wanted to know the average order value in a postal code, or what was my average order in a Germany, I would have to somehow connect these tables, right? Because average order is in this table, but postal code is in this, or country is in this. This is why these databases matter, right? Because they're all too big on their own. Or actually, I've been learning with someone who is in the political space, and you think about all the data that they deal with. Here are all the people who register as this party. Here are all the people who registered to this party and voted for city council. Here are all the people who registered for this and voted for state. Here are the people who are signed up for our campaign. What are we thinking about? Who are we targeting? How are we making these decisions? They're all data driven. Tables and table relationships. In SQL grammar, now we're going to start writing our own. We're not clicking anymore. Carriage returns and tabs are ignored and often used to enhance readability. What does that mean? I could write the entire code on one line. I can write it on separate lines. The space in between the language does not matter. But if I write it one line at a time, one command per line, it will be helpful for you to read it, right? And it is a modular language. So sometimes if your from is all the way here and your select is a little bit indented, it will help other people understand. Queries are not case sensitive. So select from where can be capital, lowercase, it matters not. But SQL is very picky about strings, right? So anything where I say select from where Jack Daniel's bourbon, right? I teach a lot of this Iowa liquor sales database. I want to know where it's Jack Daniel's bourbon. If the database has it as caps, all caps Jack Daniel's bourbon, then I need to query it as all caps Jack Daniel's bourbon, or it will not find it, right? Some ifs are very light on that type of stuff. VLOOKUPs aren't as pressing. SQL is very particular. And strings are always, will remind you that you got to be aware of the case sensitivity when you're in between the single quotes, right? That's how we communicate strings. And a semicolon ends your query. I said that. Another one, select product name, price from products. What does select do? It allows us to choose columns. Our last query, we used an asterisk, and that was like, give me all the columns. Now I just need product name and price. Don't give me too much stuff. And I'm still running from the products table, semicolon, run it. Let's write this one. Product name, price, order by limit. All right, I got to get over to our query window. Retrieve just product name and price from the products table. Order by does what? It orders it by price. Limit 5. I only want to see 5 columns. Let's go do it. I hope you're writing along with me. So again, if I'm trying to remember what it was, select. I'm always selecting something from somewhere. What am I selecting? I don't remember. So let's select all first. And let's do from products. I remember that much. And I run it. Okay, there's a lot of columns. I only want the product name and price. So I get rid of the asterisks and I write product name, comma, the comma is important, and price. Now I run it, now I'm seeing the entire table, but only 2 columns of it, right? I don't need all those other details. But I'm not done. I need to know what's the most expensive products in this products table. How do I do it? Do I just go through and just compare numbers? No, because these databases have billions of rows. I don't want to do that. If I can just order by price, then I'm in business. I want the most expensive. I have to order by price. Descending. It defaults to ascending. ASC, DESC, you are learning more. Order by. And what was the last thing they wanted to know? I only need to know the top 10 most expensive. So limit the number of rows to 10. Select product name, price from products, order by price descending, limit 10. There's a lovely query. Go ahead, put your hands together for a lovely query. Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much. Right, that's it. Not that's it, but that is what writing SQL means, right? Not building SQL databases, another skill set, right? That's what querying a database looks like. Someone says, hey, what are the top 10 most expensive products in this market? Well, what market is it? Iowa. There's stuff can I get a report from the Iowa liquor sales data? No, but they'll give you a login to their SQL database. Oh man, I don't know SQL. Yes, I do. Product name and price from the products table, order by price descending, limit 10. I'm in business. Feeling good? Learning stuff, writing queries, right? Select what columns do I want to see from, what table, order by, what order do you want to see these rows? Limit, how many rows do you want to see? Select distinct. Ooh, we're learning something for the select. What does select distinct mean? Well, retrieve just country field and only return unique values. I know we're selling internationally, but how many countries are we in? We're trying to get an investor excited. How many distinct zip codes are voting for us? Well, customer information is in, country information is in the customers table. So we better be pointing towards the customers table. And then we want them in alphabetical order. Order by works on numbers and strings. So let's go ahead and run that ourselves. Let's go ahead and run that ourselves by writing, right? Let's go ahead and say select and selecting something from somewhere. What do we want to know about countries? I need to consult my ERD to know where country is. Why? What country? What table is that? I can't see it anywhere. I would have to know my ERD, right? I would have to consult the map. But we know it's in the customers table, right? We're starting with our from, because we know what data we want to know. Customers is spelled this way. What do I want to know about my customers? Well, I want to know the countries. Okay, that's a lot of rows of countries. I just want to know how many different countries are we in? SQL, how many different countries? Distinct. How many distinct countries? There they are. Go ahead and alphabetize that for me so I can run it against something else. Order by country. And for good manners, semicolon. And there they are, Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France. How is your SQL journey going? Select from, order by, limit. I'm going to go ahead and say the celebratory horn with streamers is a magnitude greater than the clapping hands. That's just my opinion. That's an opinion. Thank you for jumping on board. All right, something in the chat, question. Can you do a count of these countries? Of course you can. You're gonna have to pay for the big class. No. There's a count distinct. A lot of the commands that you're familiar with in Excel, sum, max, min, count distinct, all exist in SQL, right? They happen in the select. You got to get into the group by and limit. I'm pretty sure we end with that, but yes, you would be able to do that. Thank you for the question, Kristen. All righty. Yeah, the cool part and the thanks part. I'm encouraged and respected. Oh, I really enjoy teaching. Next slide. We did that. Create a table that includes just the order ID and value fields. Display the top 10 largest orders. All right, so you are going to write a query on your own. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, which means at 12:40, we'll jump back into this together. And you're going to write select. You're going to decide, I need to see order ID and value fields. You're going to write from, and you're going to decide what table those live on. And then you're going to figure out how to order those orders from largest to smallest. And in 3 minutes, we'll go over that ourselves. Good luck. Thank you. Now I can just copy and paste that lovely SQL query that Danny shared with us in the chat. I hope everybody is at least knows SQL is for me. Select order ID and value. Danny somehow figured out that order ID and order value were in. Oh, you've got the order by part. Okay, no doubt. Great. Order ID and order value were in the orders table. Any limited to 10? Nice, nice, nice. The order by part jammed them up. So again, how would we know? Order by. So the thing is, the only thing that matters is the order of these things, right? So it's select from where, group by, having order by limit. So we couldn't put it before the from, but we can put it before the limit, and we know the command is order by. Order value. It's the command followed by the column that you want it to act on, if that helps a little bit in how you build these things, right? And again, I'm breaking them up onto different lines just so that you can see, but also it makes sense that way, right? Select this from order value, DESC, descending, or else it would have done it in ascending order. And there we have it. Order ID was 1,000, it was a lot more than the others. Good job, thank you all, I appreciate it. We are writing queries. Now, where all the meat of this lives, right? You understand the select. I can just get these tables, right? And it's also important to understand that once you query the data, so like give me all the orders from Germany, right? We already figure out we can do that. You can just download it and put it in Excel. You don't have to keep working in SQL. SQL is sometimes just how you get the data because you have no other choice but to have it live in SQL. You can continue to be a master at Excel and analyze your data and use pivot tables and all those things. But just to get it out, you got to do some select from where. I want to see something from somewhere where these conditions exist, where statements filter and focus resulting information and can be used to filter different types of data. Remember, when you're combining logical operators, beware of the order of operations. Use parentheses to create groupings or priorities. Remember what parentheses are, or order of operations? Parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. PEMDAS, right? That applies in here. We're not going to get quite that complicated, but when you're talking about how to give commands, and if you're doing math, these rules apply. The logical operators, these are the ones that we're talking about. You might hear people use the language Boolean operators. Equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, between, in, like, and wildcard. Wow, you guys are gonna get all of these operators inside of where clauses, where commands. You are amazing. Let's go ahead and do select customer name and country from customers, where country is Germany, right? We are, my band's on tour. We've been selling a lot of t-shirts. I want to see all my customers who are from Germany. I'm going to send them free tickets. Retrieve the customer name and country field. That's in my select. That information lives in my customers table. That's my from. And where. Don't give me all the customers in my customers table. Give me the customers where the country column reads Germany. Only show the rows where the field has value Germany. Let's go ahead and do it. Select, what was it? I forgot what table, customers. Let's start with select all the columns. No, we just want to what? The country and the customer name, and the country. From where? Well, that information lives in my customers table. Is it customer or customers? In my customers table, and I want to know where, right? Select from where. You can get a whole new job with select from where. Select customer name and country from customers. Customers where, country, name of a column, Boolean operator equals, it's a string, single quotes, GERMANY. Single quote to close the operator, to close the string and run it. What? Because I spelled something wrong, right? SQL, structured query language, so hard on me, but I spelled country wrong, and that ain't and that's not a column, so you can't see that, but now you can, and now I can see, whoa, that's how I can reach out to all my German customers. Just because I can select all the things from my customers table, but only when the country column equals Germany. And if I did, and again, I don't know if it's gonna work, but if I did this query, look at that. I'm looking for Germany, but it's lowercase, and they're like, nope. Structured query language, right? If it were all caps, it wouldn't get it. You can get around some of these in some of the, with some code, but in general, strings have to be identical. All right, all right, all right. Where are we? 12:47. All right, one more for you guys. And then I start to push through. Create a table that includes just the order ID and order values. Display the orders where, select from where the order value is greater, Boolean operator, than $4,000. Take 3 minutes, come back to it. I'm gonna run you through everything else in these slides so that you can make sense of them when you have it. We'll have 5 minutes for questions, and we'll go on as enriched human beings. Good luck, 3 minutes. I'm here. Speak up if you need me. Call me if you get lost. Niceness. Thank you, Danny, for just, putting yourself out there and being like, yo, this is a real class. I'm here, I'm raising my hand, I'm involved. I love it. One thing, I think you had the operator backwards. This would be less than, where order is less than 4,000, and it said greater than 4,000. So let's run it, and we will see indeed everything is less than 4,000. If we were looking for greater than, We would have greater than 4,000. We just want to see the greater than or equal to 4,000. All right. Are there any that are actually 4,000? Good question. Nope. But we wanted greater than this time. But again, this is a real query. You're going to know the name of the columns. You're going to know where the data lives. You're going to know the names of the tables. That's in your ERD. So the select and from really doesn't have that much to do with you. How to manipulate these wheres to bring you the data that you want, where the order value is greater than this, where the order value is greater than this, and the country is Germany, where the order value is greater than this, or the country is Germany, right? Where the order is between this, and the country is this or that, right? Those are the things that bring billions of data rows down into chunks that you can now analyze and know a little bit more about your German luxury market. Next tab, a few advanced SQL. Oh, I did do this, right? Someone was asking earlier, can we now find the count of these, the min, max, sum, average? All of these are options. They work with group by, right? Because you have to distinguish between values that are in the table, like value, customer name. Those things we can use operators with because they are in the table. SQL differentiates between things that are in the table and things that we create, or aggregates, right? So the count of all the German customers is not a table we can see, or the sum of everything is not, it's a table, it's something we can see, but it is not something that exists in the table. It can be derived from the table, you can aggregate it from the table, but then if you want to see it alongside things from the table, you need group by. What does that mean? That means I want to see a count of the customer IDs by country. Well, customer ID and country are in the customer's table. I know that part. But if I want to see them, what does that give me? Here we go. Select, count, open parentheses. This is the actual syntax. Customer ID from customers there are 60. There are 60 customer IDs in the customer's table. That's useful, but what would be more useful is if I could see that alongside each country. So I want to see how many customer IDs are in each country. So I'm going to add country to the select. You're supposed to get an error ID, but this code lab is too easy on you. But that's why we need group by, right? Instead, it just tells you 60 and then there's a country. I don't know what that means. But if I group it by country, then I can get the count grouped by country. So 1 in Argentina, 2 in Austria, right? And then all of these add up to 60. But in order to see our aggregated value alongside an actual column, we have to use group by. Cool, cool, cool. And then I can even order by. Count of customer ID. Descending. And I can quickly see that most of my customers are in Germany. That is group by. If you're up to group by in your SQL coding, you are on fire. How would you get the total? Ooh, good question. Well, the real question is the total of what? Right now, you got to start querying. Right now, we're just freestyling. The total of what? What can we total? Well, we could get the sum. right? What does that mean to our data when we sum customer IDs, right? Because it'll sum it because it's a number, but things we really want to be summing are things like order value. So select from what table is this? From the orders table. The sum of the order value. And then that'll give you the total of all the orders. But I want to see that grouped by, I don't know what else is in the orders table, order ID, maybe. I need an ERD, right? So that didn't quite work. But let's get back to the pivs. We do have more examples, but great question. You just have different commands. All right, where are we at? 12:56. Okay, I promised you one thing. We're not going to do that. We're going to do joins. No, we're not. We're going to stop for questions. We're going to stop for questions. It is 12:57. I would not disrespect joins by giving it to you in 3 minutes. I hope you have some great questions. I hope you have some idea of what SQL is and how it might matter in the industry you might choose. And I hope you would take some more time to further your data journey with us. All of us as human beings, us as General Assembly, us as, that was the cue because I don't have it here. Florida.
Yeah, Tech Hub South Florida.
Yeah. Tech Hub South Florida. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Monica. Thank you all for your time and patience. You're the best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that you joined us from Brooklyn.
I
Just
wish it was in person.
But yeah, if anybody has any questions, just drop it in the chat or even just take yourself off of mute. I mean, it seems like Vaughn loves that and he's super cool. So he's happy to help answer anything.
I could just talk.
Yeah, I do have a question actually. So with SQL, do you guys well, what's the average learning time for this? Like I know JA has a program. Is it a 10-week program like Python, or is it more of like a few weeks?
No, the SQL boot camp is a 1-day class, so 6 hours, 10 to 4 normally, or whatever your time zone is. And you get it. You get it. You can get to more advanced topics. So there's a 2-day boot camp where you do SQL boot camp and intermediate right after, and you definitely get it then. But the 10-week courses is for all data analytics, where we introduce you to Excel, take you through SQL, and also do Tableau. But you will get SQL after 1 day of a SQL boot camp. Anything you need to practice it. So again, it would take a while before I would recommend going right to the intermediate. But you could also do the 2-day and know all the SQL that you would need to know in 2 days. That's me in the LinkedIn. I'm friendly like that.
That's awesome. I was actually pulling up your LinkedIn right now to share.
Yeah. And I used to have a haircut. That's a real thing.
Yeah, I didn't recognize you. I like this hair.
I do too. And luckily, things are going well enough as an entrepreneur that I don't think I gotta get any more haircuts. So, again, guys, thank you so much for having me. Please stay connected. You can look me up to see when I'm teaching a SQL bootcamp at General Assembly. You have data questions about the tech startup market. I know I'm going to be connecting with you guys soon enough for some introductions in the Miami area, as we are an official partner of the Miami Pro-Am. So, we're out there too. Thank you so much for joining me. And I think that's it, 1 o'clock. Thank you guys.
Thanks everybody. I just dropped the Career Expo link in the chat as well, if anybody wants to review that. But we'll see you guys in 2 weeks for our next workshop. Thanks, Vaughn.
Take care. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Take care.